Okay, so we're learning Tractate Eruvin. Yesterday we learned the Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses the way to measure it's being measured. So if you look at the Mishnah on 57 before, it says that the way to measure was done with a rope of 50 amma long. Each amma is about 18 inches. So it should not be shorter, should not be longer. And the measuring was done, the surveyor that would measure the property would do it from his heart to the, so it would hold the rope to his heart, and the other person would hold the rope to his heart, and this is how they would measure the perimeter of a town to establish the boundaries of Shabbat, how much you can walk and how much not. And what happened if they had reached a valley or a mountain? When it comes to a valley or a fence of stones, he would span it, he would stretch it, and returns to his line of measurement. If he comes to a mountain, he would, we'll see, the Gemara will discuss what you do with mountain, but in the Mishnah, says similarly that he would span it when it comes to a mountain, provided that he does not go out of the tchum. That's the today. Provided that he does not go out of the tchum. If he is unable to span it, in this case, he'll be the style of Yanis in the name of Meir. I have heard that we pierce mountains. We measure the mountains as if it had been pierced, with a rope running through it, so that the increased distance caused by mountains. And so we'll go to the Gemara and see how it was done. So we're going back to what was done in Beis HaMikdash. The length of the courtyard is 100 amos, and its width was 50 amos. How was it measured? So the Torah says that it was measured with a rope that was 50 amos. It says it's needed to teach. Pasuk is teaching us, take 50 and surround 50, meaning to take 50 amos by which the courtyard's length exceeds its width, and distribute them around the other 50 amos to form a perfect square. So the Gemara asks, how then can you explain the verse to allude to measuring the tchum area with a 50 amma rope? Why does it say chamishim b'chamishim? So we'll learn from it two laws. What are the laws that we're learning? From 50 chamishim b'chamishim. So he says we'll learn, number one, that one is only permitted to carry in an open field, which is called karpaf, which was not enclosed for residential purpose. That's really the designation or the definition of karpaf, is that it's not enclosed for residential purposes, and it is no larger than 5,000 square amos. And B, that the tchum area must be measured with a 50 amma rope. Okay. So you're allowed to carry karpaf if it's not larger than 5,000 square amos. And number two is that the tchum must be measured with a 50 amma rope. Then the Gemara says, not quoting the Mishnah, not more, not less. If you'll use less, you will increase the area by because you will be stretching it, and if you use a longer rope, you'll end up diminishing the measure since it sags in the middle. What type of rope they used for measuring? So the Gemara says it was a piskimo rope. So the Gemara asks, what is a piskimo rope? He says it's nargila. The piskimo rope is nargila. So then what is nargila? It was a palm tree with a single vine growing around it. It was it says, Rashi explains this refers to a variety of vine that winds itself around palm trees. The fibers of this vine are used to make the rope. Another type of vine that grows around the palm was mentioned above in 26b. The Aruch, citing a Tshuvas Hagarinim, explains this to refer to a fibrous matting that grows around the bark of palm trees, the best of a palm tree. Okay, so the best thing is to use for measuring is iron chains, but the Torah says otherwise. The Torah says his hand was with the measuring rope, not chains. And it's written in Ezekiel 40 verse 5, the hand of man was measuring stick. This seems to indicate that a stick is used as measuring instrument. It says this is for measuring the width of the gates. What gates? Obviously is referring to the gates in the Beis Hamikdash. Such a gate is best measured with a stick. Longer distances are best measured with rope. No, not necessarily Beis Hamikdash, but it says it was used for gates because it was shorter distances. There are three types of ropes: shel magog, shel netzer, shel pishtan. Three types. One is reeds, one is peeled willow branches, and one is linen. Shel magog, a rope of reeds, is used for the red cow. That nan will learn the Mishnah kafsu bechel lamogum sangam marachto. They tied the red heifer with a rope of reeds and placed it on its pyre. Shenetzor meseiso, and willow branches is used for a saita. The snan is written and afterwards he brought the coin which brings a willow rope and ties it above her breast. Shepishton lido, a rope of linen, is used for measuring the tchum boundary. So we see that Rav Yosef sanctions measuring the tchum area with a rope of linen and does not limit it to a rope of a fiskimo, as Ravasi said. The next section of our Mishnah is cited and analyzed on Wedel Magia. He was measuring and he reached a valley or a fence. He should span it and return to his measuring. Since the Mishnah teaches he should return to his measuring. Remain further if he's unable to span the valley at a point opposite the city. He goes to a place where he's able to span it. And then he spans it. He looks towards his original line of measurement and returns there to continue measuring. We have learned by inference from the Mishnah, the Rabbi is told explicitly in the following bais. If he was measuring the tchum boundary and the measurement reached a valley, if he can span it with a 50-amma rope, he should span it. He goes to a place where he's able to span it. And he spans it and looks toward his original line of measurement and returns to his measurement. If the valley was curved, as you can see in the diagram, he pierces the slope and ascends, and he pierces the valley and descends, goes up and down. If you reach the wall, we do not say you should bore through the wall. He rather estimates its width and continues on. 58a3, but we learned that he returns to he spans it, he stretches it, and returns to his measuring. Why does the Baita allow us to estimate the wall's width? The Moshe says also, there in the Mishnah speaks of a case where the fence use is somewhat convenient. The Mishnah speaks of a fence that collapsed and people are walking. Traffic may pass over it without too much difficulty, but in this case, here in the bicycle case, the wall is not convenient. Traffic does not pass over it. Therefore, we may rely on estimating. Now we're dealing with measuring the slopes of a valley by piercing them. And Gemara says we did not teach that we must measure the slopes of a valley by piercing. It's piercing means to make a hole, but in this case it's like imaginary hole. You're not really making a hole. Except when a plumb line would not descend straight down. But if a plumb line would descend straight down, he measured the valley properly. How deep may the valley be to qualify alpine? Valley is 2,000 amos. If the valley is any deeper, it must be measured by piercing method, rather by spanning. So we have these two ways of measuring, either spanning or piercing. If the valley is 100 amos deep and 50 amos wide, the surveyor spans it. But if not, he may not span it. This obviously contradicts Rabbi Yosef's assertion that a valley may be spanned as long as it is less than 2,000 amos deep. Rabbi Yosef rules like the opinion of others. Even if the valley is 2,000 amos deep and 50 amos wide, he may span it. Even if a valley is more than 2,000 amos deep, it may be spanned. His opinion, Rabbi Yosef, which opinion Rabbi Yosef follow? Not the opinion of Tanakama, not the opinion of others. Rabbi Yosef's case differs, the Gemara answers that Rabbi Yosef's case differs from the case which is the subject of dispute between the Tanakama and others in the Baisa. Also, says the Baisa deals with a valley in which the plumb line does not descend straight down, whose walls incline moderately. Here, Rav Yosef deals with a valley in which the plumb line descends straight down. Since the walls are vertical, thus inaccessible, it permits spanning the valley no matter how deep it is. Now, when the plumb line does not descend straight down, how much must it deviate before it is no longer considered vertical? Amar Avimi Dalet, 4 amos. And so to Ram Bar Yechezkel taught from a Baisa 4 amos. If he reached a mountain, he spends it and then returns to his measuring. We're dealing with a case of a mountain whose height rises 10 tefachim within 4 amos. But if a mountain is already, when we say a mountain, not dealing with a big mountain, we're dealing with a mountain that his height rises 10 tefachim only within 5 amos. Therefore, he must measure its entire slope properly. None of the leniencies applies, and he measures the techum along the mountain slope as if it were level terrain. Avuna Breder of Nosson, Master the Kula, Avuna the son of Nosson taught Rava's ruling is leniency rather than stringency. We're dealing with a case. They did not teach that we must span a mountain versus piercing, except in the case of a mountain whose height rises 10 tefachim within 5 amos. When it comes to a mountain that is 10 by 4, the height is 10 and the width within 4 amos. He estimates its width and continues on his way measuring. He need not even span the mountain, he can estimate. Provided he does not go out of the tchum to span the valley. It is a precautionary decree that observers, the outlookers, observers might say that the tchum boundary reaches here to the point where the surveyors are spanning. To avoid confusion, the rabbis forbade surveyors from leaving the tchum area in order to measure the tchum. Even if he's unable to spend it. Regarding this, Rabbi Menashe said of Meir's name, I have heard that we pierce mountains. How do we pierce mountains? The Lord surveyor holds a rope against his chest. The upper surveyor holds the other end of the rope to his feet. In this manner, the rise of the slope is eliminated from the measurement. We hold the following tradition: we do not measure by piercing with anything but a 4-arm rope, which one surveyor holds to his chest and the other to his feet. We do not use the method of piercing. We're not using this method of piercing. Obviously, it's imaginary piercing, and not in the case of Egla Ufa, and not in the case of cities of refuge, because they are biblical laws. Next Mishnah is Ein Moedni Elamin Hamumche Ribo Lemokim Echad Umit Lemokim Acher. We do not measure the tchum. We do it with, unless it's expert. With anyone but an expert, a professional surveyor. He's the only person allowed to measure the tchum Shabbos, the boundaries of Shabbos. It was found the expert extended the tchum boundary at one point and he shortened it in another point along the same side of the city. We accept the measurement place which he extended it. If it extended to one and shortened to another, we accept the longer one. Even a male slave, even a female slave, he were not normally accepted as witnesses with regard to biblical laws or biblical matters. In this case, they up to here is the tchum of Shabbos. The sages, when they instituted the laws, the law of tchum did not enact the matter with a provision to be strict, but rather with a provision to be lenient. Buchim Tiu, and we'll continue, God willing, tomorrow.